I'm assuming you heard that.
Oh, I heard that.
All right. Well,
Fancy.
that
Fancy.
means we're recording. Welcome back to. What is John doing?
Nothing, man. I'm just here hanging out, getting ready for week 2
Welcome
of
to.
3 boys in a band.
Three
That's not what-
guys, one band.
No,
3
it's
guys,
3
one
men,
band.
one
That's what I
band.
said.
It's 3
Second
men,
grade.
1 man. It's 3 men, 1 band.
You said
We
3
still don't-
bands, 1 man.
We still don't know the name.
It's 3 men, 1 band. And last week, we covered Kevin's first band. He picked Her Last Sight. But it was not the last we will see of them.
I think.
Okay.
Well, yeah, we talked about we'd revisit them the next time they release an album. And then
Okay.
Kevin
Yes.
texts today and says they're about to drop a new album. So,
Next week.
So we'll
Next
have to do a
week.
little
Crazy.
mini podcast for them.
3
But this
albums in
week-
14 months is crazy work.
That's just today's music climate. You know, like sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold, and you just make music.
That
So-
sounds a lot like a Katy Perry song, I've got to say.
What, I Kissed a Girl?
Well, that's our favorite Katy Perry song.
All right.
Perfect.
All right. So this week, it was my choice to pick a band. John didn't even listen until today.
Yeah, I kind of was putting it off because you said it'd be super heavy and screaming, so I said, I'll wait on it. I was wrong. I should have listened before.
And then he asked if it was the right band, and I sent him a picture of Barry White.
But he was...
Not the band that I picked. I picked,
Yes, he was not the band that you picked at all.
Not at all.
if
Who was
there
the band that you
was,
picked?
if there was wrestling belts for music, you'd have the World Heavyweight title. You'd have the mid-card belts, like the Intercontinental Championship, the U.S. belt, and then you'd have the lowly tag team belts. Right now, the band that I picked is a solid mid-card belt amongst their scene. I picked The Academy Is. The Academy is who I picked.
I don't think they're mid-card worthy.
You know what?
Oh, boy.
In all my listening, Jordan, I never figured out what the Academy is.
They don't
Still-
know
I
either.
don't know.
So,
Well,
since I picked them, I will give my quick 35-minute rundown of them. So, the Academy is, they formed in 2003 in the Chicago suburbs, a huge area for this kind of music, for creating other bands like Fall Out Boy, which is how the Academy is, kind of got their name going. Now, the Academy is not like a lot of other bands. They were only around for about 8 years before calling it off in 2011. And then they had some reunions, 2015, 2022, 2023, and nothing solidified right now, but they are technically a still active band according to them. In this band, we have William Beckett on vocals, Mike Carden on guitar, Adam Siska on bass, AJ Latrace on guitar, but he left before the debut album but came back 3 years ago. Michael Del Principe on drums, who also left before the very first album came out, but he came back 2 years ago. Some other former members, we got Thomas Conrad on guitar, Andy Mrotek on drums, who was there for pretty much their entirety, but chose not to come back a few years ago. We got Michael Chislett on guitar and piano for a majority of their active years, but he has not been part of their reunions. We got Jamie Sheffman, who just joined recently, and you had Ian Crawford, who only performed on a select few tours. Did you guys ever get into that part of their history?
of their tours?
Just the bandmates, who they are.
Nope, didn't look it up. Just listened to the group.
There we go.
But
All
I'm
right.
glad you told me who the guitar player was because I will have more to say about him later.
Mike Carden, he is actually pretty well regarded amongst the pop punk and emo scene. We'll get into him a little bit more because I do have a lot about him. We're going to go over some tours that the Academy we're a part of. So we're going to start all the way back to the beginning. Back in 2003 to 2004, the Academy has really only played small shows. No one knew who they were. They're pretty much playing their debut EP, the Academy. No one knows what the Academy is still. They were not signed to a label at this point. They were just playing small shows in Chicago. And guess who they caught the attention of? None other than legendary musician Pete Wentz of Fall Out Boy. And that is how they started getting their name out there. Because their first major tour is a Fall Out Boy tour. And this is how they make their name. Right after meeting Pete Wentz, they are signed by Fueled by Ramen, a huge music group. They are still around. I believe Panic at the Disco they're not active anymore, but they were signed to them for their whole career. But Fueled by Ramen was basically the upper echelon of if you're playing in a pop punk band or emo band in the 2000s, you want to be on Fueled by Ramen. They got very lucky with this break. So after signing to Fueled by Ramen, the band joined Fall Out Boy on a summer tour along other bands such as Bayside, Name Taken, and Armor for Sleep. This was their first major outing, and it was tied to some buzz around their first EP and their connection to the Chicago emo and pop punk scene. Now, again, this is all stemming from meeting Pete Wentz and Fall Out Boy, who are also from Chicago. It is just their whole home base area. Not stopping there, they go out on another big tour in 05 because something big happened in 05. What happened in 05, you might ask? They released their debut album, Almost Here, came out in 2005, the very beginning of the year. They go out on a headlining tour to support this album, and they had supporting bands in cast. They had Hidden in Plain View, who are still active to this day. They had Spitalfield. They have a classic pop punk album. And Days Away. Now, this band right here, guys, Days Away, I've never heard of them. So, this tour mainly hit mid-sized venues across the U.S. Now, on the heels of that, what does every band in this genre do at some point? That's right, in the middle of 05, they hopped on tour. This is their first appearance. It is a key rite of passage in the scene. They played alongside Fall Out Boy, who are legends. They played amongst My Chemical Romance, who are legends. And The Offspring. This got them a lot of exposure. And then what did they do in 06? They went right back out on Warped Tour again, but they only played a certain few dates because they were recording their second album, Santee. In 2007, they went on a tour called the Sleeping with Giants Tour, a headlining tour to promote their second album. Kicked off in Milwaukee and ended nowhere else but in Chicago. They had support from the Rocket Summer, who is still active to this day. Armor for Sleep, who is still active to this day. Sherwood, who is, I've never heard of them. And Cobra Starship, who are not really active, but they play shows every now and again. After that, a little bit of a lull, took a break, go home, had some hot chocolate and stuff. 2008 comes around. They have another album coming out. It is called Fast Times at Barrington High. Their third and final album comes out in 2008. So what do? Naturally, they go on to Warped Tour 2008, play a few select dates. Also in 2008, they had another huge break. They were asked to support Panic at the Disco as on part of their worldwide tour. They went all the way to Australia and New Zealand to play on select dates. They were also playing with Cobra Starship there. And this helped to garner some worldwide attention for the release of their third album. Also in 2008, they go on another big tour called Bill and Travis's Bogus Journey. It is a co-headlining U.S. tour with We the Kings, who are still active to this day. They had support from Carolina Liar, never heard of them, and Hey Monday. Hey Monday is now probably more famous than ever because their lead singer was a winner of not American Idol. What's the other big one?
Oh, The Voice?
Voice.
Yes, Cassidy Pope. She was the lead singer of Hey Monday.
Mm.
She either won or she was a judge. I can't remember. But
I don't know.
this tour was named after Bill and Ted, and it ran through the fall and solidified their status as a solid upper mid-card band on Fueled by Ramen. And then in early '09, they went on the AP tour, the Alternative Press Magazine tour. They used to do this tour every year, and on this tour, they went with Family Force 5, who are not currently active, I don't believe. 303, who had multiple mainstream hits. The Main, who was my wedding song, and Hit the Lights, who are still currently active. And then arguably they got their biggest break ever in the summer of '09. Because guess who got back together in '09? Blink 182. They went out on a reunion tour, and the Academy has supported them right alongside Fall Out Boy, their highest profiling gig to date. But did they capitalize on this? Absolutely not. 2010 to 2011. These are some rough years for the Academy is. Post 2009, the band really scaled back as members started lots of different side projects. After the Blink tour, they never did a full tour again until their reunions. And then they announced their breakup on October 8th of 2011. And that is until Riot Fest 2015 comes around. It is in Chicago every year. In 2015, this is their first reunion performance. They're disbanding. And it marked a momentous occasion. They were celebrating the 10-year anniversary of Almost Here. This show sparked further interest in more shows. So they did an Almost Here 10-year anniversary tour in December of 2015. This was a proper reunion tour, fully celebrating the album. And that was the last thing they ever did until Riot Fest 2022. This marked their official comeback as a full band. They played that. Then they came back again in 2023 with another big high profile show at the When We Were Young Festival in Las Vegas. That is the big emo nostalgia festival. And then in, I think, early 2024, they played on Andrew McMahon's Holiday from Real Cruise. Aboard the Norwegian Gem out of Miami, they played alongside Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness, Something Corporate, Cartel, and Augustana. That is everything about tours that they did. Surprisingly, for a band that was together for about almost a decade, they really did not play a lot. So either they were rich beforehand or they were making a lot of money and didn't have to tour that much because they didn't really play any like year-long tours, which is crazy. Now that the tours are over, we got to dive into some other stuff about this band really quick. Unless you guys have some comments to make.
Not that I can think of. Let's just keep going with the info.
All right, I will keep on going. Says John Adams. Wall ass over there is be a little quiet, so I'll keep going. So we're gonna jump into William Beckett, lead vocalist of the Academy is. We're gonna jump into some side projects and credits of his. Now, he was in a band before the Academy is. They were called Remember Maine. I couldn't find anything about this band. Nothing on Spotify, elsewhere. So nothing to talk about there. Other than the Academy is, he had a solo career from 2012 to now. So 2012 is right after they broke up, obviously. He has released 3 EPs, Walk the Talk, Winds Will Change, and What Will Be, all coming out in 2012. And then in 2013, he released his debut full-length album called Genuine and Counterfeit. Not with Fueled by Ramen. He did this with Equal Vision Records. He was signed to them in 2013, and he did some solo tours while signed under them. And he even had a spot on the 2013 Warped Tour as a solo artist playing some acoustic shows. He has had a couple of appearances on other things. So, his vocal appearances. He was in 2 Fall Out Boy songs. Number 1, Sophomore Slumper Comeback of the Year on their 2005 album From Under the Cork Tree. He was backing vocals. And he was on What a Catch Donnie on their 4th album. He was also doing backing vocals. He did a song with Cobra Starship, Snakes on a Plane. He did backing vocals. And arguably I think this would be the biggest song he's done, is he did a song called Wolf in Sheep's Clothing with the band Set It Off. Came out in 2014. That song, I believe, has almost 300 million views listens on Spotify. It is a mainstream hit, you could call it. And then he did a solo song for Punk Ghost Christmas. He did a cover of Do You Hear What I Hear? And I believe that was in 2015. Now, he does have some songwriting credits. This is where he gets more mainstream attention. He co-wrote a song called Homecoming in 2008 with Hey Monday, but even more high profile, in 2011, he co-wrote a song with Demi Lovato called For the Love of a Daughter, and that got him a lot of attention. He also had some music video cameos. He appeared in A Little Less 16 Candles, A Little More Touch Me, and This Ain't a Scene, It's an Arms Race with Fall Out Boy, and he was in Snakes on a Plane by Cobra Starship from before. That marks the end of William Beckett, his side projects. Any comments to make from either of you on William Beckett?
I don't really have anything.
No, I did not expect a Demi Lovato crossover, but that's neat.
Yeah. She's always towed the line between the scene and pop culture. So I think I have the next one is just Adam Siska. He's the only other band member I did the side projects for because he had some sweet ones. So Adam Siska is the bassist. So after the Academy is disbanded in 2011, he went to arguably my favorite songwriter of all time, Max Bemis of Say Anything, and he became Say Anything's new bassist. And he was only there for 2 years until 2013 because he got arguably the largest, best job opportunity anybody could ever ask for. He was offered a job with Carly Rae Jepsen to become her bassist. If you don't know who that is, she is famous for her hit single. What is it called?
Maybe.
That's what it is. Yeah, Call Me Maybe. Yep.
Call Me Maybe.
It. Yep. And that is pretty much the end of Adam Siska, because I think he is. Oh no, well, he's back with Academy is now, but he was with Carly Rae Jepsen. I think the entirety of Academy is being not a thing. That'll jump into. I think this is the last part I really have here. Appearances in media, because the Academy is. They did get just big enough to get some appearances. So their song About a Girl was featured in an episode of The Hills on MTV. They had 3 songs, Check Marks, The Test, and Summer Hair Equals Forever Young, all garnered different episodes of Degrassi, which is where Drake came from. They got to perform, I think, multiple times live on Jimmy Kimmel. The Phrase That Pays, that song made an appearance on One Tree Hill. And off their second album, Everything We Had was played on P.S. I Love You in 2007. Those are their appearances in media. And then other than that, the only thing I have here is some info around their hiatus and kind of why it happened. So after 2009, the Blank Tour, they played sporadically. They did put out another EP called Lost in Pacific Time. This was released digitally only. It had minimal promotion and no physical release, which is kind of weird for '09. Even EPs were still getting physical CD releases, at least. What that showed is that there was a real lack of investment from the studio in the band. Obviously, they didn't care about it. 2011 hits, they're all doing their side projects, everyone's everywhere. Uh, and then they call it, of course, at the end of 2011. Some people have cited creative issues. William Beckett himself said in an interview that Fast Times at Barrington High was obviously a lot more popular than anything they ever did. And he said that was not really their call. So there was kind of a big disagreement there. And they didn't like that the shift was being forced on them. But again, it's not really anyone's fault there because by 2011, the decline of the scene, the emo pop wave of the mid 2000s was completely waning. Fall Out Boy by 2011 are long gone. They have disbanded. MCR, My Chemical Romance, is about to break up. Panic at the Disco is now just Brendan Urie's solo act. He's gone. And naturally, the Academy is they never hit that high as Fall Out Boy and the others did. And they kind of set a natural endpoint that any band that just can't go any further did. So there was no bad blood. They kind of just, that last EP was just them kind of fading away as the scene itself died. Most people will probably remember, well, I don't know, maybe not, but around 2011, 2012 is when you really see guitar driven music as a whole is just not big on radio anymore. Academy is amazingly did have radio play for a while, but bands in general just didn't get anymore by that time. Nowadays, for some reason, it's back. So I'm sure we'll see some new bands starting to come out. And other than that info about the hiatus, I kind of just have info on the albums themselves, but I'll just dive into that whenever we get to those albums.
Awesome. Well, that was a very in-depth history there. I feel like I really do kind of have a glimpse into who they were and who they are now.
This is pretty much them. Again, it's kind of hard to get a lot of info because they were like that mid-card band. Like they didn't hit the highs of Fall Out Boy and stuff, but they weren't the lows like a lot of other bands. They got their name out there. So where should we start? Who wants to kick it off? Or should I just introduce him?
Are we gonna jump into the first album here, or?
So when it came to the EPs and albums, I'll be honest, before this point, I had never listened to the Academy. That first EP that's not even on Spotify, I had never listened to it before. I'll be honest, I didn't even know it existed until I was researching this. I'd only ever listened to the three albums and Lost in Pacific Time. From the Carpet, I kind of just gloss over because it's just a bunch of acoustic covers. I don't like. I just it's not my thing. But I still gave it a rating. But
You told us the three things to listen to.
What do you mean?
You told us the three albums to listen to.
Yeah, three albums, right? Almost Here, Santee, and Fast Times.
What were you just talking about? From the Carpet? Yeah, I was like, I didn't listen to that.
I mean, I gave it a rating, but we don't have to go over it. I don't have any information about it because it's just a bunch of acoustic covers. I did give Lost in Pacific Time a rating because that is their final EP. But if you didn't, that is perfectly fine.
I did.
Okay. So did John do the Academy or did you not do that?
What?
The Academy is their first EP. It is not on Spotify.
No, I did not listen to that. I just listened to the three main albums.
The only song I heard from the Academy was the very first one, and when I Googled it, it was just it's
an intro a song, yeah.
I couldn't get any of the other three.
Oh, they just weren't playing on YouTube or anything?
No, that's
All
I
right.
tried to do it, but
All right, then we'll just skip over it. That's fine. I'm
all
sure people out there will be mad. They're like, what the hell, man? That's my favorite EP ever. Shut the fuck up. All right, so, but I don't, I don't know what to tell people, man. It's just, I don't know. So let's see. So we're gonna start off with Almost Here.
Start off with Almost Here, baby.
So
sounds good.
I will jump into the quick info I had about it. Then we'll give our little breakdown. So Almost Here, released February 8th, 2005. It is a critically acclaimed album from the pop punk scene. It got lots of good stars and ratings from numerous sources and magazines and reviewers. It is regarded as a cult classic in the pop punk scene because it didn't hit that super high level. Now, it did hit 185 on the Billboard 200, which is pretty impressive for a band releasing their first album. By May 2006, so this is a year after it released, basically, it had sold 144,000 copies. And then by October of 2009, it had sold 265,000. And then they have estimates now that puts it between 300 and 350,000. And they think that in the next 5 years, it might be certified gold. I do have this album hanging on my wall in vinyl form. This album never hit mainstream like Fall Out Boy or Panic at the Disco that same year, because Panic at the Disco, this is when their first album released, and you have I Write It's Not Tragedies all over the radio, all over the internet. And this is when Fall Out Boy put out Dance Dance and Sugar We're Going Down. On this album, I believe the only song that really got any mainstream attention was Slow Down and Check Marks. What do you guys have to say about the album?
John, do you want to? John,
well,
you go first, John.
Sure, I'll go. Well, first, I'd like to point out that I was lied to. In last week's episode, Jordan said, "Oh, if you couldn't understand the screaming from her last side, you definitely won't understand anything the Academy says." Just right after the first two tracks I listened to today, I texted the guys and was like, "Am I listening to the wrong band? Because I'm not hearing what I was told I would hear." So I just want to disclaim that first. It was a very nice surprise that I could understand what they were saying, though. So I liked that. Well, I'll start with some overall takes, I guess, from the album of that it was a more like, to me, vocal driven sound and like having a catchy melody and all that. Then the focus was on, hey, look, we have talented musicians. Let's play some cool shit on guitar and drums.
Yeah.
Although I do think, what was the drummer's name?
The drummer for this album was where is he? I have him. It is Andy Mrotek. 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 I don't know how to pronounce it. Mr. Otek. We'll call him Mr. Otek.
I think Mr. Otek here is a pretty talented drummer. I think he was kind of more in a reserve role throughout the entire album than maybe he could have and should have been. I think he could have had a little more feature time, which I'll talk about. One of the first songs here, I forget which one it was. Did I write it down? Yeah, in Slow Down here. They had a little, for the first time in the album, a little explicit instrumental feature, but it was primarily driven by the guitar. And the bass, or the drum set, I thought was more interesting to listen to than the guitar there. But he didn't really get top billing in that little solo moment, which disappointed me. Which I'm going to jump a little ahead of myself here. And I want to, Jordan, you said you have a lot to say about this guitar player. What was his name? Mike something?
Mike Carden.
Mike Carden? Yeah. Here's what I have to say. And I am skipping ahead a lot here because this is album 2 beef that I'm carrying over now. I don't like him. Not a fan. I don't think he plays anything exceptionally difficult.
You wait to hear what I say about the second album.
I don't think he, in any album, really ever played anything difficult and challenging. And I think in later albums, now maybe this wasn't him, maybe it was whatever sound engineer they had in the studio, but in later albums, I think he's pissed off that he's not getting as much recognition as he thinks he deserves. So they just like crank up his track in the audio file, because that's in the second album. All I fucking hear is mid guitar playing. But like I said, I'm jumping way ahead, so I'll get back to my lane now.
So I was wrong. I actually didn't have anything written down about my stuff. I was talking about Adam Sisko, the bassist, because he's the one that went on to do other bands and stuff. Mike Carden and I didn't write anything else down for.
Well, I don't like Mike, whatever his last name is. I'll call him Mike. I'm not good at guitar. Anyways, I'll put aside my beef with Mike. I mean, he's obviously better than I ever was, because I've never been in a band. So
you'll see him at WrestleMania.
I'll be in WrestleMania. If you think I Show Speed got kicked out fast, I'll show you getting eliminated fast.
Now, to be fair to Mike Carden, pop punk is a genre that does not really showcase guitar skills. It is about catchy beats. You have some bands that can showcase guitar, but even the most widely known guitarist, I would argue, is Tom DeLonge of Blink-182. He does not really play anything exceptional. But yes, the drummer from this band, he's pretty good. That's a big thing with the genre is drummers. They're usually a little bit more highly regarded. But Kevin, what do you have to say about Almost Here?
That first album, one of my biggest notes is I have nothing bad to say about that first album. For me, the entire album, I think there was a catchy beat with every song.
Yep.
I don't have like Attention, Seasons, and Slow Down were Slow Down was probably my favorite. But that entire album, I never got tired of anything. It was catchy. I like the upbeat stuff. For that first album, I gave it a 7.8 because I really liked I like the pop punk. I like the upbeat stuff. I think they really killed this first album.
Yes, the first album is amazing. I gave it an 8.3 out of 10.
Well, before I give you my rating, I'm going to go off of Kevin here. I agree. I don't have anything really bad to say about the album. But what I'd say is the first half of it, I don't think was as good as the second half.
I agree with that.
I think Black Mamba, it might have been my favorite track on the whole album.
Yeah.
But I think that's where they started hitting their stride.
Yeah.
Then skipping ahead, Skeptics and True Believers was okay. But from the Classifieds, then Check Marks, then Down and Out, those were all three, to me, certified bangers.
Okay. I can get
all right. Well, then I disagree with you.
Shoot. You'll see him at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I like all of those a lot.
I like the first three more than I like the second half. But
well, again, I think they were all good, but I liked those three more.
It's okay, John. It's okay to be wrong.
Okay.
Oh no!
Tell me how that feels. I don't know. But I'll tell you what I really liked about Black Mamba, and throughout this whole first album, especially the first half of it, each song had kind of a slower moment and more thin in the texture, and then a more in-your-face aggressive punk part of the song.
Yeah.
I thought Black Mamba did a great job of building up through that.
Black Mamba is good.
That's a good song.
And, at one point, they got real punk and aggressive sounding, then it all cut out, and it was nearly just vocals and synthesizer. And then slowly but surely they started adding back in and building. And it just, was I interested in listening during the song? Hell yeah. Like, it really had me invested in the song.
Yeah.
Now, the other song that I really, really, really got into, where was it? check marks. Holy shit. I was taking a walk, listening to this album, and suddenly I was like, if there was a wall in front of me, I would just run through it. Like, it really got me, like, hyped up and pumped up and ready to rock and roll. Right? Which, I'll go, one more thing I have to say about it, then I'll give my rating.
Okay.
I thought going from that check marks to Down and Out, which was another song I really liked, they contrasted so well with each other. And Down and Out started with this, like, I don't quite have the word I want to describe for it, but it was kind of ethereal, kind of trippy almost kind of start, build up, and then ended in that same way. And I wanted the album to end right there with it was like a 15-second instrumental fade out. I thought that's where it should have ended.
I did like that. That was good. Yeah.
Then I listened to the last song and was like, yeah, they definitely should have ended with Down and Out.
Yeah.
Like, I did not really care for that last song. I think it actually took away a little bit.
The actual name of the title track of the album.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the title track.
Yeah.
They say save the best for last, and they most certainly did not.
Yeah. So what was your rating?
I gave it an 8.5. I really liked this album.
That's good. Like I said, I gave it 8.3. My favorite song off it's probably Slow Down. Slow Down has literally been in my music playlist ever since I discovered this band back in like 2006. I mean,
it's a great song.
I love Slow Down. I even have it in my playlist that I play for my classes during activities and stuff. Actually, on this album, I have Attention, Slow Down, and Skeptics and True Believers all get played regularly during my classes. I don't know why I haven't played check marks. I think he says a bad word in there, so I can't. But I think Black Mamba's the only song where he drops a truly bad word.
Yeah, that's the only explicit marked song on the album.
Yeah. So, I mean, we all had a lot to say about that first one. Don't say anything yet about the second one. I'll do the quick dive here, and then we will definitely tear this album to shreds. So, Santee is their second album, released April 2nd, 2007. Now, this album had a huge shift. I think a big part of the success of that first album is being tied to Pete Wentz and Fall Out Boy, because Fall Out Boy really nails transitions and contrasting their whole album. And I
agree. That was something great about the first album. I thought they organized the songs very, very well.
Yeah.
Pete Wentz probably had a huge. I didn't see anything about it, but I think he played a huge role in it. But this second album, you can tell that there isn't really any influence. It was released to very, very mixed reviews, but it hit 32 on the Billboard 200, selling 33,000 its first week. By October of 2009, it had hit 132,000, well shy of Almost Here's metrics, and then today they estimate to be around 175,000. There are quite a few factors at play here. This is early 2007. By this point, you are having a huge oversaturation of the whole emo pop punk genre. That's naturally going to drag their numbers down a bit sales wise. And it's weird because they didn't really take a big lull or anything between albums. The 2-year cycle was normal, but you have that huge oversaturation where literally you could ask any dude in 07 or 08, hey, what are you doing after school? Oh, I'm going to go play with my band down the street. We're called the Buttholios. And
is that based on a true story?
Yes.
That was your band?
No. Everybody was in a band back then. It didn't matter who you knew, who you were, what you did, what you didn't do. It was everywhere. This album is not a cult classic. I will say, as far as this album goes, it is just, to me, even though it's supposedly more produced, it's not mixed well, in my opinion.
That's what I say.
It's not mixed well.
Album.
It's not mixed well. Now, there are 3 songs on here that I do enjoy.
I do too.
I do like We've Got a Big Mess on Our Hands. I play that one regularly. Even though that one does sound a little sloppy.
No.
Lax to O'Hare is okay.
I did not like that one.
Everything We Had is, I don't want to say a classic in the genre, but it's a good slow song akin to Mayday Parade and stuff. Neighbors is probably their most famous song off this album. That or Everything We Had. But even then, this is just, it's not a good sophomore album for a band. It's not a good sophomore album. And I gave it a solid 6 out of 10.
John,
So,
can I go? John, can I
Go
go first this time?
Hit it up.
What'd you say?
Go for it.
Okay, I'm gonna come out of the gates right away and say that We've Got a Big Mess. I absolutely hate that song. That's one of the worst songs on the album, in my opinion.
Do you really mean that?
100%. I hate the chorus of where they're just going I hate that.
Oh my god,
it
man!
It pisses me off.
Wait, what song are you talking about?
We've Got a Big Mess on Our Hands. I hate that song. That is such a bad song on the album.
You didn't like the I did. I liked that.
How is that good? I don't understand how that's a good song.
I liked that the background singers were adding some harmony there. To me, that was a new thing that the band hadn't really done much before.
There's no harmony in that. They sound stupid.
All right, just because you can't sing doesn't mean they can't, okay?
That song sucks.
Okay.
Same Blood, I thought was, I mean, though, what I had down is I wrote meh. I thought it was just mid. Lax to O'Hare was okay.
No, how do you both think that song was good? That was not a good song.
Did I say it was good? I said it was okay.
Okay is too good for that song. It was not good at all.
Sleeping with Giants, I thought was okay. Everything We Had, I like a good sad song, but even the chorus in that was kind of pissing me off. Bulls in Brooklyn, I liked. I liked that one. Okay. Neighbors, I liked too. I like those two. Those are pretty good. Right. I did not like Seed. Chop Chop was eh. And the last two songs, I didn't really care for. I think I might be too nice with my rating, but I gave him a 6.4. But I didn't like this album that much at all.
Didn't like it, but you gave it a 6.4. That's impressive.
A 6.4 to me is not a good rating.
I see. All right. So, John, break it down for us, man.
With a few other thoughts.
All right.
One, as much shit as I'm talking here, somehow I still ranked them higher than you guys. But I have to say again, Lax to O'Hare was not a good song.
Okay.
The mix was terrible. We've already said it, the whole album, the mix sucked. I only heard mediocre guitar playing the whole thing. It's like they said, let's put everything at a 4 and then crank the fuck out of this guitar. Not a fan. Not a fan. But anyways, Everything We Had, I did like that one, Kevin. I thought that was pretty good. It was, a little bit of a different mellow sound than they've had in all their other pieces. Chop
Not
Chop.
A bad song.
Chop Chop, I liked. I thought that was a good song. I enjoyed it. I have a note here that somewhere around Chop Chop that the songs were starting to change sounds, but to me it didn't really fit the vibe of the album or their sound as a band at all. It wasn't really giving me what I wanted. Unexpected Places, I didn't mind that one. It was kind of interesting, and they used some new instruments in the background. I think I heard a ratchet going in the back, and it gave some different vibes, which I didn't mind. But my big takeaway from this song, from the album, I said, the album does have songs that I liked. but none of the songs hit it in any capacity like the first album. It just, I think, Jordan, you said sophomore slump. I think that's the perfect way to describe it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they got lazy or if the Fall Out Boy connection really hurt them not having that anymore. But it was not great. I gave it a 7.2 just because there were no songs that were, like, even though I didn't like some of the songs, they weren't awful. Like, I just didn't like them. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're all in agreement that this was arguably their worst release.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have anything else to say about Santee, or should I jump into Fast Times?
Jump in.
All right. So
Dive right on in.
Fast Times at Barrington High. This was their third full-length album.
This is the one. This is the one I didn't listen to.
What?
You told me specifically what 3 things to listen to. I'm gonna send a screenshot.
Oh my God! Here we go.
I'm almost positive that he said to listen to this.
You know what? I'm gonna go pull it.
Oh my God!
I'm pulling it too.
Oh my gosh! Here we go. All right. Fast Times at Barrington High. This album came out in 2008, August 19th, 2008. Now, the big thing with this album, it is a nod to 2 different things. I believe, what was the name of the movie? Fast Times at Ridgemont High was the name of the album from the, or not the movie from the 80s. And Barrington High is the high school that Beckett and Mike Carden attended, I believe. So, the one thing you notice about this album, it is a clean, polished album. I mean, it is mixed well. It is it's crisp, it's clean. I can actually understand everything. I can hear all the instruments, I can hear the voices. This is a very, very poppy, happy album. And the big reason for that is we went over it earlier. By '08, the emo scene was completely shifting in a different direction. Blink-182 has been gone for 5 years at this point. Fall Out Boy is less than 6 months from breaking up. Pop punk was still big, but bands were now either doubling down on going super heavy or leaning into a more accessible pop route. And the Academy chose the latter. And it, to be fair, it paid off with this album. It hit number 17 on the Billboard 200. They finally cracked that top 20 spot, which is very, very hard to do for a lot of bands. Not many bands can say they cracked top 20. They sold 35,000 their first week, beating Santee. By October of '09, they'd only sold 85,000, well shy of the previous 2. And today they only estimate to be at about 150. Only is what I say. What is Kevin saying to me? What did I say?
You never said about listening to that album, so I never did.
He said Fast Times.
I literally said right there, Fast Times.
You said you're talking about Barrington.
That's the name of the album, Fast Times at Barrington High. I literally said right there in my text, Almost Here, Santee, and Fast Times. Are we looking at the right message?
I'm pretty sure I have a screenshot of it. Let me send.
He just sent the screenshot.
Oh, did he?
I guess I'm just a fucking retard. That's all that I am.
Hey, you said it, not us.
I guess, to be fair, I could have just...
No, I'd just go fucking... God damn it.
That's all right.
All good, brother.
It's all right. So...
Because you know what, Kevin? I only listened to like the first 3 or 4 songs. So, we're in the same boat.
Oh my, so I'm out here just talking out my butthole.
Pretty much.
So, what else was I saying? So this album came out to very mixed and positive reviews. A lot of those reviews saying it was too polished. They didn't like how it abandoned their almost here more raw roots. Um, Kind of odd to me because Academy doesn't really strike me as a raw band at all. So, I gotta sneeze.
Bless you.
All right, there we go. All right, so so on this album, it is definitely a lot poppier. I have the first three songs on this album saved to a majority of my playlist. About a Girl, which was their biggest hit by far and away. Summer Hair equals Forever Young, and His Girl Friday are all regularly played on my playlist. Um, and one thing I really was kind of weirded out coming into this album was that I've been listening to this band for almost, well, basically 20 years now. After doing this re-listen, I was going into this album thinking, yeah, man, this is my favorite album by them. I love it. After His Girl Friday, this album kind of took a little bit of a nosedive for me. I was like, none of these songs are really catching me after His Girl Friday ends. I was really not caught onto it at all. And I was like, huh. So Almost Here, I guess, really is my favorite album by them. That album is just clean, good all the way through. I love it. But Fast Times, those first three songs are all bangers for me. I love them. And this album ended up getting a 7.3 out of 10. I guess John will give his scathing review from his three songs he listened to.
No, I mean, I agree. It did sound poppier than all the others,
Yeah.
but it was put together and clean, and it was music I'd describe as like if it came on the radio, or if I just heard it playing on Spotify or something, I wouldn't
Yeah.
turn it off.
Yeah.
I also probably wouldn't turn it up.
Yeah.
Like it was okay. I did like Summer Hair equals Forever Young.
Yeah.
I thought that was a fine song. Um, I have to say I'm intrigued by Beware Cougar. I think that sounds like it could be a funny song.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I thought it was okay. Again, it was just kind of average.
Yeah.
With the little bit that I listened to, I gave it a 7.7 because I felt it should be kind of in the middle of the first two albums.
Yeah,
But
no, that makes sense. Um, yeah, I mean that makes complete sense. Um, the only other thoughts I really have on this one is I love the music video for About a Girl. Whenever I see it, it just takes me back to high school. It's just crazy. That's a very nostalgic song for me. Even if it is not as well received as it was their biggest hits. Obviously, it's well received, but just a classic song. I love it. Um, Kevin did not listen to this album, so did Kevin? Kevin, did you listen to Lost in Pacific Time?
Yeah.
All right, so we can jump into Lost in Pacific Time. John, did you get to Lost in Pacific Time?
nope.
All right, cool. So Kevin and I talked about Lost in Pacific Time. So Lost in Pacific Time, it came out September 22nd, 2009. There is zero sales records of it because it just really didn't sell, and there's nothing public about it. This album, or not album, this EP is not very well regarded. Um, it just felt like a stopgap to a lot of people. Um, like, so it's been like a year, guys. Where's some new music? Oh, well, here's this EP. There was no promotion for it or anything like that. It was very much just kind of like, yeah, just take this and listen to it. You gotta deal with what this is, um, if that makes sense. Um, but yeah, I don't. I hate that this is the last thing they ever really put out. Um, the only song I really like on this was Days Like Masquerades, and it's not enough to save this EP for me. I ended up giving this EP a solid 5.5.
You said a
Yeah.
solid 5.5, is in like
Yep.
that's respectable.
Nope.
Okay,
That's
thank you.
just where it falls for me. 5.5. It's not something I ever revisit. I don't ever regularly listen to this. I do listen to their other single they put out in '08 called Winter Passing. That's a good little snowy song I like, but it's
Winter
not like
Passing is good.
I did like Winter Passing. And then you have like the other singles like Sodium, 40 Steps, and Superman, but those aren't like new songs that released then. They were, I think, unreleased songs from the Santee era. And I can't get into any of those, but Lost of Pacific, I don't really have anything good to say about it. It's very much a filler. It's just four or not four,
It's
five,
five.
five filler songs that I could skip over.
I liked that EP.
I'll see you at WrestleMania.
I yeah. The only song that I didn't really like, what did I say? Sure. I didn't like Sputter. Sputter was kind of
Yeah.
just poop. But I gave it a 7.3. I didn't hate it. I thought it was very relationship based. Like he was heartbroken, whatever, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I could see how it's not liked. I will say, Sodium. Like when it comes to the singles, Winter Passing, I didn't hate. I thought that was all right. Sodium, I like the instrumentals for it. Superman is one of the worst songs I've ever heard in my life. I hate
That's
that
how you really
song.
feel.
I never want to listen to it again in my life. That song is so bad. And that song pissed me off so bad. But overall, they're not. They were pretty good. I don't know if we want to go over like the raw scores for the band.
I mean, we can do that. It'd be pretty cool. So the first thing that I'll do is so right now I'm on their Spotify on my phone, and I love their profile picture. It's William Beckett. This is from like 2 or 3 years ago. He's just holding his hand up, and that is an image from when they were playing at Wrigley Field a couple years ago. They were opening for Fall Out Boy, I believe, and of course they had to play in front of the Chicago crowd. So I thought that was kind of cool. But what I think is difficult for there's a lot of people that um, want new music from them. And back when I was first listening to them, like really heavily again, back in like 2018, they only had like 40,000 Spotify listeners. And then when they got back together at Riot Fest in 2022, they're sitting at that number right now, which is 314,000. And they've been hovering in that range ever since then. So they obviously have a dedicated fan base that will listen to their stuff. But these guys are all in their 40s. We're not going to write music like about a girl anymore. I mean, it's hard to believe, but 2008, my friends, was 17 years ago. It ain't going to happen. He was 23. He was 23 years old when he wrote that. And well, actually, he might have been older. I think he's in his mid 40s. But they're a band that I think will, I don't want to say stand the test of time, but they're a product of their time, if that makes sense. The bands that really stand the test of time from this era are going to be like
Mayday.
Your fall of what Mayday is still chugging along, selling out venues. Mayday Parade. Academy has put out 3 albums, one of which was awful, and one of them was a cult classic. 20 years, will people still be listening to Almost Here? I don't know. I asked my brother. He had never heard of the Academy. So I asked my students. They had never heard of it. Now, none of them were born, but that's so like a good thing for me to gauge is like I'll ask my brothers and my siblings. My one sister knows who the Academy is that I'm just running myself in loops. I don't. Is that how you would say that the Academy is? Like if you know who they are, would you say that? I know who the Academy is, but but um I ended up giving this band a solid 7 point. Are you ready for it? A 7 point solid 7.
7-7. Okay, I was right there with you. I gave 7-8. I was
Oh my
impressed with
god! Almost always one upping me, man.
always.
I gave 7.2.
Wow, so we're like all kind of in that same range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
What surprised me, looking back at last week's notes, is this band is much more my speed. I would listen to them a lot sooner than I would ever listen to Her Last Sight, but they were only separated by 0.4 in my overall
Yes.
what I thought of the band, which I think is a testament to, a testament to how good Her Last Sight was and
Yeah.
how wide of a base they're able to attract. Yeah. But also it talks to just how bad that second album was.
That second album is awful.
It's like, yeah.
So when it comes to the scoring, something that I'm really trying to do is, because obviously we're gonna all pick stuff that like, obviously not some of us aren't gonna be into. Like picking this, I thought Kevin was gonna be like, God, this shit sucks. I don't like this music. I don't know. I don't know. I know Kevin likes screamy stuff, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pick The Academy Is. I know John's into classic stuff. The Academy Is almost a 25-year-old band. And there isn't really anything heavy, but I was trying to play a little middle there. But one thing I'm doing when I'm scoring is that I'm not like comparing this band to Her Last Sight. Like Her Last Sight, I gave a 7.0. So when I get like when I was scoring Almost Here, I gave it an 8.3, I believe. Where'd I go? 8.3. What I'm comparing this album to was what were other in this genre. What would I give some other albums? So like, what would I give like Fall Out Boy? What would I compare Almost Here to this? Almost Here is a certified classic in pop punk, so I gave it a rating that I feel would attune to that. What I hate is that Santee has a lot of defenders on the pop punk subreddit. It is sometimes more regarded than the first album, and I am just like, I don't know,
those
boys.
People are
you need to go. I think it's because a lot of people like that unpolished sound for some reason. Like again, I said it earlier, you're gonna have people going on there defending that first Academy EP. I'm like, yeah, man, you go and do that. I don't know what you're talking about. That's not for me, man. That's a bunch of 15-year-olds playing toy drums in their basement. But and so like Her Last Sight, I was rating them compared to other modern contemporary metalcore artists.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to like compare the Academy to Her Last Sight. They'll know well. Technically, I guess they could show up at the same music festival, like Warped Tour, where it's a mixture and everything. But I don't know. It's really hard to gauge a lot of these ratings. Like someone will say, "How did you give Murs by Her Last Sight a 6.4? But you gave Almost Here 8.3." Well, you see, Bob, they're two different fucking bands and genre. So it's hard to really to gauge that kind of thing, I guess. I don't know. But that's kind of how I'm going about my rating process. Like this band, what would I compare them to Mayday Parade? I'd probably give Mayday Parade like a 9 out of 10. Academy Is 7.7, perfectly fine by me. They were great during their time, but again, they hit that wall that the band was never going to survive. So they would end up being like, I don't know, there's tons of bands still around that should not be around anymore. But yeah, that's how I kind of do the rating.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah. So the question is coming for you, John.
Big
and I think
question.
Here it comes. So
if you don't want to hear any spoilers.
Yeah. If you don't want spoilers, turn away now.
Yep, just.
In fact, I would say this. Yeah, I don't know if you could hear that, but that was Tuco from Breaking Bad saying, "Get out!" So,
all right.
Are we playing the same thing?
I think we are playing the same.
Hey, great minds think alike.
What?
Right. Well, actually, the band that we're going to listen to next week is one of my, I don't know if I'd say they're one of my all-time favorites, but they're a band that I really liked a lot. That would be the Neon Trees.
Okay.
Okay, so they fit into this same general time period. Well,
Yeah.
they kind of are a continuation of the Academy is in time frame.
Yeah.
They put out 5 albums, which I actually just learned that as I looked them up right now.
Pretty surprising.
I had only known about 4. But they released a brand new album in 2024. So that's kind of new, but they have 5 albums out. Habits in 2010, Picture Show 2012, Pop Psychology 2024, I Can Feel You Forgetting Me in 2020, and then Sink Your Teeth was just out last year. So that's who we're going to listen to for next week.
I've seen them live.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Saw them at the
I am
2011. Saw them at the 2011 DC Chili Cook-Off.
I'm jealous.
I can't remember who they came out before. I want to say they came out right before Panic at the Disco. What a shit show that was, man! Holy hell! But that Brendan Urie, he was hammered beyond belief when he was on stage. Holy moly! He was up there, and he loves metal music. He was up there just screaming all the Panic at the Disco songs. It was and he was stumbling. Oh, it was crazy. It was crazy.
Oh, jeez.
It was awesome.
So-
The Neon Trees were good.
Are we waiting until Saturday, or what are we doing for the next?
Let's do it tomorrow. Y'all can listen to 5 albums by then, right?
We're going to go ahead and end this one here. Stay tuned for next week when we talk about the Neon Trees. This has been your boy, the Monkey Man.
John Adams.
Okay. President.
And
President.
Kevin.
I thought your name was Wallace.